Hello. Okay, so this is multicellular organisms, and this is the final key area. So this is key area 7, and it is absorption of materials. There are two videos. One that is mostly skewed towards the digestive system, one that's mostly skewed towards the lungs. But this main unit is really about surfaces that absorb stuff and things that those surfaces have in common. Okay, so let's get started.
So what we're going to look at in this video and the next video is we're going to look at the different materials that need to be absorbed into cells. Obviously there's quite a few important things our body needs. We're going to look at the waste materials that need to be removed. We're going to look at the different structures in the digestive systems that help absorb these nutrients, which is going to be this video. And then in the next video we're going to look at the different structures in the lungs where gas exchange occurs, and we talk about the other materials.
Okay, so let's have a look at this digestive system in a bit more closer detail. So you need to know about a little tiny bit about the digestive system, but it's mainly the small intestine and how villi make food absorption efficient. Okay, so we will cover slight digestive system, but we'll explain exactly what you could get examined on.
Okay, so by the end of this video, you should be able to identify the main route that food takes through the digestive system, although that's kind of less important, but the picture comes up, we'll talk about it in a second. You should be able to state where amino acids, glucose, and fatty acids and glycerol are absorbed in the villus. That's important, that is one that gets asked about all the time. Really good one to know. And you should be able to give 3 features of the villus that makes it good at absorbing food molecules.
Okay, so the digestive system has got one job in your body, and its job is to take large insoluble molecules like, huge chunks of food and break them down into small soluble molecules so that they can get absorbed into blood. Remember from first and second year, insoluble means it can't dissolve. Soluble means it can dissolve, and what we want is we want small molecules that can dissolve in the bloodstream, travel to the rest of our cells, and give those molecules to our cells. Okay, that link there is available on the Sway for those of you who have access to it. So click it, and it's quite a nice little BBC bite-sized one, just reviewing digestion.
Now, this diagram here, you can pause it, you can try and label it, but realistically, you do not need to know 99% of this. There's one thing in it that is crucial, but you will get a diagram like this, you will see things coming up. So it is useful to know what the other parts are, but there's only one part you really need. So you can pause it, you can try and fill it in all you want, but the one thing that you need to know is on the next slide.
Okay, so I have no idea what order these are going to come up in, so I'm just going to start clicking things and explaining what they do. So you've got your salivary glands that make saliva. When you chew your food, saliva contains some amylase, remember, enzyme that's going to break down starch into maltose, start breaking down your food for you. But also just the fact that chopping it up and getting it mixed in with the saliva helps start breaking it down. Your esophagus is the food pipe that leads from your mouth to your stomach. It's a flexible tube that can squeeze food down into your stomach. Your liver is an important organ in breaking down toxins in your blood, but in this case, what it's going to do is produce bile, and bile is going to help with fat breaking down. The small intestine is in funny box there because I'm going to talk about it in a second. This is where food is absorbed, but I'll come back to that. The colon is essentially where water is absorbed kind of as you go round the large intestine. The colon is where feces is going to be excreted, so poo. The stomach is a bag of acid that is going to churn and mix and break down your food. Pancreas is going to produce some digestive enzymes. I know we looked at it when it was producing insulin and glucagon, but in digestion, the pancreas is making digestive enzymes like amylase, a little bit of protease to break down protein. And the large intestine is where water is absorbed. Now, look at small intestine. Small intestine's in this fancy box because that is really the only one you need to know. That if you get a picture in an exam and it's got here's the digestive system, the question is going to be where is food absorbed, or basically something about name the small intestine. That's the only named one you need to know.
Okay, so things you do need to know about this, you need to know about the breakdown of food. So food is obviously broken down in various different stages in your body, starting at the mouth. You've got your stomach, you've got your small intestine, loads of places food is broken down. But every time food is broken down, it is because an enzyme is doing so. So like we said, in your mouth, you've got saliva, which is going to produce amylase, which is going to break down your starch into your maltose. But in your stomach, you've got other ones as well. So you've got loads of different enzymes. The things you need to know is these 3 types of food here: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. You need to know what they are broken down into, but you should kind of know these already, maybe not the bottom one, but you should know carbohydrates are broken down into glucose. Like we said, we looked at it when we talked about insulin, we talked about it a bit in respiration as well, we talk about glucose a lot. Protein, you should know this from the whole idea of protein synthesis. It's made up of amino acids, so unsurprisingly, it's broken down into amino acids. And fats, this is probably the only one we've not touched about, which is broken down into fatty acids and glycerol. So you need to know the fatty acids and glycerol bit for fat.
Okay, the broken down food molecules will get absorbed into the blood in the small intestine. So those glucose molecules, those amino acids, those fatty acids and glycerol spend the whole time being broken down into those components. When they arrive at the small intestine, they are now broken down, and the small intestine is now going to absorb them into the bloodstream. Now, the small intestine has several features that make it very good at food absorption. Number one, it is really long, okay? It's very, very long, which gives a huge amount of time for the food as it's passing by to get absorbed inside of it. The inside surface is folded, which increases its surface area, and on top of that, it has millions of these structures called villi, which give it a very, very large surface area. So essentially, the villi are tiny little folds on the inside of the small intestine that increase the surface area. It's always a tennis court, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, apparently you've got the surface area, it's always a tennis court. Your small intestine is the same surface area as a tennis court.
Okay, so this structure here, we said in the last slide, villi. Villi is plural, a single one is just called a villus. It looks like this. You need to know three features of it. You need to know about the villus wall, which is the wall around the outside, and it is one cell wide. You need to know about the blood capillary, which is exactly what blood capillaries have always been in the last load of topics, so the thing that gives blood to the actual villus. And you need to know about the central structure called the lacteal, which we will talk about more in a wee second, about the important jobs of these various parts.
Okay, amino acids, carbohydrates, and fatty acids will be absorbed into the blood at the villi. So it's the villus that's actually doing the absorby bit. And again, if you're on the sway, that clip will be available for you. So glucose will get absorbed through the villus wall into the blood capillary. Amino acids will travel through the villus wall and get absorbed into the blood capillary. Fatty acids and glycerol will travel through the villus wall and they will get absorbed into the lacteal. You thought I was going for blood capillary there, didn't you? Okay, I know, I love to be surprising. The lacteal is where fatty acids and glycerol are going to be absorbed. This is an exam question that does come up, along with here is a picture of a villus, name the thing, also comes up to here is a picture of the villus, where is glucose going to get absorbed into? Name a thing that's absorbed into the lacteal. So common exam questions around this.
So the other thing that gets asked about quite a lot is the idea of different features of the villi and why they are important in terms of food absorption and making the villi particularly good at this. Now, there are kind of three main features that we are going to talk about. The first one is the fact there is a large number of them. There is so many villi, and obviously the more of them there is, the larger the surface area there's going to be for the absorption, because if you have one, it's not that big, but as soon as you've got one, and then another one, then another one, another one, the whole way through your intestine, which as we've discussed is really, really big, you're going to have a gigantic surface area to allow for more absorption. The second thing, which we've already touched on, is the idea of the walls of the villus. These are really, really thin. They're generally just shown as one cell thick. And again, this makes it much easier for materials to kind of diffuse and cross in and out of the villi. So thin walls, again, allows things to move in and out very easily. And finally, they have an excellent blood supply, linking back to that blood capillary. So they have got all of this blood, making it much more easy, again, for materials to cross into and out of the villus.
Okay, just a language note. If you're asked in an exam to describe, say, the previous features of a villus, checking language says, describe how a villus is good at absorbing food, do not say large surface area, because one villus does not have a big surface area. It's got a tiny surface area. The reason why you'd maybe say large surface area is describe the features of the small intestine that make it good at absorbing food, is it's got many villi which make a large surface area. Okay, that's how we get the large surface area included in our language.
Okay, so to summarise all of this, we have got the small intestine. It is the thing in the digestive system that you need to know. It is a site where digested nutrients are absorbed into the body. Okay,
the villi are structures that line, so it's many villi, one villus, to clarify the language there. Structures that line the small intestine, increasing the surface area. They're very thin-walled. They contain a blood capillary and a lacteal.
Okay, we've got glucose and amino acids, so these are two things that are breakdown of bigger food products, and they are absorbed by the blood capillary.
And then we've got fatty acids and glycerol, which are the breakdown products of fat, and they are absorbed into the lacteal. Okay, nice and simple there. The next thing that we're going to be looking at is lungs, and you will notice a list of stuff that looks almost identical to one of the slides on here. See if you can spot it.